Allowed, look, branches nominate people, we don't. So if branches nominate any of these people who have been asked to step aside because they face criminal charges, the branch would have to be advised that that person, nominations come in packages when they come. They would have to be advised that the person does face a criminal charge. If they insist that they want to go ahead with their nomination and they elect that person, the person would simply have to step aside.
A year ago, the ANC gave the green light to all charged leaders and members to enjoy the privilege of being nominated and elected into positions in the party. The catch was, you would have to immediately step aside from all positions until your legal matters have been concluded. Newly elected officials in Mpumalanga and the eThekwini region were the latest to enjoy that privilege. Now the party's highest decision-making body between conferences has ruled that leaders facing criminal charges cannot contest any positions. Newly elected eThekwini regional chairperson Zandile Gumede, who is also affected by the step-aside resolution, says branches of the party will have the final say on the matter at the December elective conference.
It's a very, very painful exercise. I don't wish anyone to be on step aside, especially because our constitution and also our constitution of the African National Congress and our country constitution state clearly that a person is not guilty. A person is innocent until he or she is found guilty. You cannot be penniless and be seen guilty before the court of law find you guilty. I don't think it's a very good exercise, but because it's affecting me direct, I don't want to talk about it. The branches of the ANC in December will talk about it, and they've already started talking about it because it's really killing our movement.
Leading up to the National Executive Committee meeting, ANC KZN Provincial Secretary Mdumiseni Ntuli cautioned the party to fine-tune the step-aside resolution in order to protect the ANC. Ntuli says it doesn't make sense to elect leaders who will not even be able to perform their functions.
When we started preparing for conferences early last year, we engaged the head office about it because we had a few comrades who were on step-aside but had availed themselves to be nominated by branches. And we were very concerned that why would a comrade be elected to step aside? Because essentially, if you are elected and yet you are on stepping aside, the first thing is that you can't even set your foot in that conference.
At the Mpumalanga Provincial Conference, ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa sealed the fate of charged leaders. Ramaphosa called on ANC structures to introspect when electing members and leaders charged with serious crimes, calling on the NEC to deliberate on the matter.
Now, I call on you to reflect on this matter, because it is a matter that you do need to address, to reflect on. But more properly set out, the National Executive Committee also needs to discuss this matter, because you are not the only province that is facing this issue. Now, as I said, comrades, the issue of renewal is a process. And as we go through this process, we learn from some of the things that we continue to do. Now, I am saying to us, all of you, that we need to reflect on this matter, and it's a matter that needs to be based and reflected on in line with the decisions that have been taken by our conference.
The party's highest decision-making body between conferences now says if you are charged or suspended and have stepped aside, your privilege of being elected is gone. The elections of Mandla Msibi, Zoshabalala and Zandile Gumede has shaked the governing party's NEC into trying to protect its image.
That the National Executive Committee, having reflected up until almost midnight last night, arrived at a conclusion that those of our cadres that have stepped aside from their positions owing to them being indicted to appear in court of law or charged with other serious crimes must not be allowed to stand during that period that they have stepped aside. Similarly, we've also agreed that cadres that would have been suspended in accordance with 25.70 of the ANC constitution should also not be allowed to stand. We said we need to do this so that society out there understand how the ANC pronounces itself on some of these key decisions. But we also went further before you come in, Bongi. We said that our national officials must be seized with this matter. They are welcomed to make proposals to the National Executive Committee from time to time.
The ANC provincial treasurer in Limpopo, Mandla Msibi, can no longer contest the upcoming provincial conference, neither can Michael Mabuya Kulu in KZN, or national leaders like suspended Secretary General Ace Makashule and Bongani Bongo until their cases are completed in the courts. Some branches of the ANC in Limpopo, Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal want to push for a proposal for charged leaders to only step aside for 10 months and if their cases have not concluded, to return to their full functions in the ANC. The elective conference is the highest decision-making body and can change NEC resolutions. The plenary in December will likely be a battlefield for the step-aside guidelines. This isn't the first time an ANC National Conference will be faced with the step-aside issues.
Home and declare the second National General Council closed. Amanda!
At the 2005 NGC, branches led the charge of overturning an NEC resolution for the then Deputy President of the ANC, Jacob Zuma, to step aside. And branches brought him back. Samkele Masego, SABC News, Johannesburg.